Founders are just too eager to raise money. I have built about 3 companies in the past, scaled them.
He's also been featured in Entrepreneur India as well as among the top 50 EdTech entrepreneurs in India.
We were the first official license holders for the CR7 property. They're forgetting the fact that as investors, we are more thoughtful in terms of resilient founder. If you're not adapting, if you're not moving with the time, if you're not progressing in using technology, I think that's it. You're gonna see a ton of startups failing. Any product that I built, I have sketched it with my own hands using a pencil and paper, old school methods.
Can you give 3 say hack to break into the global market?
Often where entrepreneurs give up, fail, but I guess I'll be able to help them today with a lot of wisdom, lot of experience, and perhaps real life examples.
Let us dive into his playbook to understand what makes a successful business. If you're enjoying Decoding with Jaslin, please consider subscribing to the channel. It makes a huge difference in helping us to bring you the kind of guests that you would like to see. We would also love to hear your opinions in terms of the topics and content you would be interested. So please drop in your comments to share your feedback. Thank you for giving us your time. Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Decoding with Jaslin. Today, I have with me a true visionary, a serial entrepreneur, and a business leader with over 16 years of prolific experience. Jignesh Jain, also popularly known as JJ Pro. He began his entrepreneurial journey through gaming and entertainment and has since then transitioned through multiple industries, many of which we will get into today. He is deeply involved in mentoring, fundraising, and helping numerous startups. He's also been featured in Entrepreneur India as well as among the top 50 EdTech entrepreneurs in India. Now, without further delay, let us dive into his playbook to understand what makes a successful business. Welcome to the show, Jignesh.
Thanks very much. I appreciate this, and thank you for inviting me to this podcast.
So, Jignesh, I just want to get started, right? For anybody who's tuned in right now and they're wondering if they should stay or leave, why should they stay until the end? What is it that you'll be able to help them with?
I think if anybody wants to stay with us till the end, they're in for a treat because today I will be delivering the success mantra of how to build the 0 to 1 journey in startup and take it through the finish line. Often where entrepreneurs give up, fail, but I guess I'll be able to help them today with a lot of wisdom, lot of experience, and perhaps real life examples.
And who are you to help them with that?
I think my journey began about 13 years ago. I have built about 3 companies in the past, scaled them, and I think the doers, right, as we call it, the doers are the ones who lead the front. So I think I have just never looked back when I started my entrepreneurial journey. My first venture was a gaming studio. Worked pretty much across various parts of the world. We built for Walt Disney and many other large gaming companies. Uh, Moving on, I built a EdTech company, which perhaps was one of the leading companies when Byju's was launched as well. So a lot of comparison on that front. But beyond that, I think in my entrepreneurial journey, it's just been a lot of entrepreneurs who've approached me for fundraising or getting mentored for the right purpose, which includes building the product, the go-to-market strategies, and not to mention the most important piece, which is the marketing or branding. So I am the you could say the JJ Pro, pro in all levels, as we call it.
Nice. Now you have seamlessly moved through various industries, right? What you mentioned gaming, education, and I also know that you're now into wellness and fashion tech, right? What's the common thread that sort of helped you navigate through the various sectors?
Uh, I feel the concept of depth, right? I'm a passionate guy. I think the reason I have been able to dabble with so many industries is because uh, when I started, and every time I pursued my passion, to be honest, because one thing leads to another. Coming from IT services, I think we began very early stage, doing mobile apps and games. But every subject that I have touched or every industry that I have worked, one thing was very common that I would first acquire the knowledge for that industry if I'm not aware already, to do a very strong computer analysis and understand, whether or not it's a white space. Three, build a strategy, where I could take it, from 0 to 1, starting, right from, sketching out the wireframes. So one of my interesting pieces is I would any product that I built, I have sketched it with my own hands using a pencil, and paper, old school methods, right? So it's literally putting your vision down on paper, as we say it, right? Uh, and that is where I think I have transitioned fairly uh, and built products which are astute in nature, uh, having, knocked down the problem statement in the most prominent way, and also, touching lives, right? Because anything that you build, and if it's not creating an impact, I don't think so. It's worth it. Uh, that's what I feel. I mean, whatever you build, it has to have an impact, and that's when, the success is perhaps seen because raising funds, building a solid ARR, acquiring or getting acquired, these are all fancy startup industry, terminologies that we're aware of. But I feel if you're leading with a vision and wanting to really create an impact in that industry, that's the most important piece, I would say.
That's, I think, very heartful and very wise as well, right? At the same time. You're also called builder of future ready business or ecosystem connectors, right? Um, yeah, and you have been involved in the startup industry for such a long time. What is the one trend that you see that you believe is going to cause many startups to sort of fail or maybe become irrelevant in the next 5 years?
I think even during this podcast, every minute there's something happening in the world, right? There's a AI out there, it's advancing as we speak, every minute, every millisecond. Um, there's just one word, adaptability. If you can adapt from time to time, if you are able to envision, that's the only thing that can keep you alive. If you're not adapting, if you're not moving with the time, if you're not progressing in using technology, uh, I think that's it. You're going to see a ton of startups failing. I mean, that's normally the case any which ways, but the next 5 years are going to be very different because AI is leading the show. And if you are not involving AI in anything that you're doing, you are destined to fail for sure.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's something I've also noticed, even in my industry. And to be honest, I'm very excited about what the next 5 years are going to be because while it's going to be shifting the industry, I think it's also going to be a lot of new things that we will all get to see. A lot of first time events for sure. Um, in You also mentioned you've landed companies or rather giants like Walt Disney, HTC, Pepsi, etc. Right? For anybody who's watching, right? Can you give three say hacks to break into the global market?
Well, it's the simplest thing I can ever do, right? Walk the talk, be the shooter that your client is looking for, right? Ace the game in terms of understanding, the challenges or the needs the customer has. Be the star in the moment, because when you go to that table, you should be so prepared that the client is blown away. And that's what I've done. I've possibly been on the ground. Uh, I think I've traveled about 200 odd cities around the world till date. So that's a different story. But yeah, speaking of very large companies, right from Fortune 500, Forbes 50, and labels such as Walt Disney or Pepsi or HTC, these were just the outcome of very strong mindset, that I would carry being in that geography or that part of the world, and leading the conversation with absolute determination that this is exactly what the client wants to hear. So I would say, that's pretty much the whole synchronicity you can bring in to crack bigger clients.
So can you just summarize it to me, it for me, as to say three core points that we could have like a framework for somebody who's taking it? So you mentioned determination. Second thing you mentioned, walk the talk, as to be sure, you know, do what
Yeah.
you're talking about. And what was the third thing that you sort of mentioned?
Just ensuring that the client, before you reach that client, you have to decode three things. So I think one is for sure absolute determination. Second,
Okay.
walk the talk or branding. You have to brand yourself, showcase your abilities verbally, digitally, or practically when you're in the environment, that you are, the only person who can do the job for the customer. And third, I think, timely execution. So you have to showcase that fine quality in your execution, because that's the only thing the client is looking for.
Understood. Makes sense. You also negotiated and scaled the digital license for Cristiano Ronaldo games, right? Mobile games. You want to talk about that and also talk about how you how did you get there and what did that
Sure.
teach you?
So, starting out early, I was very aggressive in my approach back in 2012. And I ensured that I'm in the right place at the right time. So the dev centers were, of course, in India, but I had partner offices in LA, London, and Berlin at that time. So that's how, of course, one of the smartest ways of getting to these bigger labels. But it's the lucky number seven, as we call it, right? So the lucky strike happened when one of my partners in LA, he reached out to me and he said, "Look, this is the first time, Cristiano Ronaldo is actually putting out the digital property, and that's it." I mean, I said, "This is it. I think this is the big break that we were looking for." And I am, or rather, my partner and I, we were the first official license holders for the CR7 property. And we published a lot of digital content. Again, this is old school, so we're speaking of mini games or casual games on Android and iOS, and live wallpapers and such. But yes, those times were definitely different. Because of this, of course, I had the leverage to work with or perhaps meet many of the football clubs in England. And I was also featured in WGE, World Gaming Executives, back then.
Nice. And what was the one learning you took away from your experience with that big break of yours?
Oh, it's just calling. It just gets bigger with time. So when you enter those rooms, when you meet those people, the conversations hit different. You forget the old methods, you forget, in whatever way the world has functioned for you. But these rooms definitely hit different. You have to be open to receive. You have to open to learn, and that's the only way you can continue that journey. Because if you are kind of stuck with your mindset, or if you're you know, not disciplined, or perhaps not open in terms of learning and progressing, I don't think so anything like this would ever happen.
Right. Now, after that, you also moved into the EdTech sector, right? You launched Tiny Tabs, and you had the V tablet. I believe it had around 4 million downloads. Um, what first was the market gap? And second, how did you achieve that kind of success with Tiny Tabs?
So Tiny Tabs was a percolation of again, I met my co-founder, and this is during the journey, right? When the like I said, it's a long journey, and you meet a lot of people, but at some point you definitely get tuned into someone's vision, or the way they communicate and how they pursue entrepreneurship or a particular problem statement. So Tiny Taps was nothing but just, a vision getting together, where me bringing in my experience from the gaming world and the tech world, and, a parent with two daughters, justifying the problem statement of how difficult it is to give, growing kids in the house access to the right content. That's how I pulled out my pencil and a paper, sketched out the whole product. This was possibly one of the most, uh, again, I'll tell you how far it went, but it took us 8 months, less than a baby, that gets born. But right from the sketch to the actual tablet getting delivered, it took us about 8 months. It was based on a very simple theory: how to cut the noise and give the child within the age of 4 to 12, when their cognitive skills are developing. If you feed the child with the right content in that age, I think the ratio of failure would drastically go down, right? Because the child gets the right visual aid, learning aid, and the practicing elements, which ensure all his skills are built and he adapts faster. So yes, and I love kids, by the way. So the most important topic is why I did this is because I think we all come with a certain childhood trauma, as we grow up. And I think in my journey, I had my learnings, and I realized a few things. And that's where the heartfelt moment, came out, where I said, this is something I would rather build for the future, for the kids who are growing up, and, parents who may or may not be able to give the right content or feed the right content to their children. But if we put everything together, powered in one tablet, I think that would do the magic. And, that's how we were part of an MIT accelerator program. Uh, yes, I think excellent mentors during that time as well. We had people from Sony, Microsoft. Everybody advised us, not to do the hardware route, but we definitely had a vision, because this also carried a purpose of giving access to the rightful education to children who are below the poverty line. So we shipped the tablets, but alongside then we also started building the apps. So we had a mix of about 25, 30 apps. And yes, I think again, one of the early stage case studies where we built a solid MRR. And as much as, we were uh, in the right place at the right time again, but I think I said, the success was achieved just because we achieved those numbers and the impact that we created.
Nice. It's a very interesting journey. Uh, you said people advised you against the hardware route, right? And you still went ahead with it. What was the reason for that?
I think it's going back to what I began with. It's you have to listen to your heart. So, and anything that drives you to build an impact, right? So that's it. Uh, if you have a certain vision and if you think you can achieve it, I differentiate this between as the what and the how, right? Once you know the what, the how gets easier because you decode it and you break it down and you pursue again. The tenacity is the most important thing in the entrepreneurial journey. If you can uh, justify and if you can showcase that tenacity to lead through right till the end, anything is possible.
Nice. Now, in terms of you growing it, right? You scaled it to a huge extent.
Right.
How did you figure that out? What was your growth hack, so to say?
I think, like I said, branding and strategy is very, very important in any startup journeys. Uh, Again, if you've got the money, you can use, all the methods. But if you've got, a little money or bootstrapped, if you're a bootstrapped company, of course, you have to ensure every step is calculated. So we definitely had a few hits and misses initially with our online marketing. Uh, but then we realized that the real ambassadors are the teachers and the educationists themselves. So we started approaching schools, we started approaching teachers, uh, and that's when we realized that a parent will actually go for a product that a teacher is guaranteeing or, a teacher is advocating. So I think that was one of the amazing growth hacks that we used during those days where we tied up with schools, so much so that we started getting attention from school districts in the US and UK. Our content was being used in school districts in London, north of London, and San Francisco Bay Area as well. So I think that's another sign of success where, Indian globalization, right? Content built in India, but the West world, being fascinated about it and adapting to that content as well.
Interesting. One of the things you have constantly mentioned is about branding, right? You said, even in terms of the three things that are important, branding is one of them. You mentioned, even now, you mentioned what helped you stay was your branding. So, what is your branding strategy? What is the way you approach it?
Oh, I think we can definitely blame all the cartoons that I watched as a child, all the games that I played as a child, and uh, I think just always excited about sports, watching advertisements, paper, right from print ads, digital ads, and so on. It always used to tickle my mind that how a certain product is paving its way, right inside your mind and inside your heart, depending on, what they're serving. But that's it. I think I was just always fascinated about branding, that I am speaking to you today as a human being, right? But it's about building a brand besides that too. You are known for what you do, right? So everything that I'm doing is building my brand. But how I can speak my, how can I talk about my aspirations? How can I blend that well and in my ability to, converse with you or, narrate it to the world? Everything is a part of branding and, directly proportional to how in a startup based on the subject, industry, the target audience, or the geography that you're targeting, that's it. I think you have to be just very, very sharp in terms of understanding what you're doing, uh, how you're placing your product visually. Uh, is it, getting the right attention. I'm sure, you would have a few hits and misses. It's not necessary that everything works out, but you have to get better with time. So no matter if you're doing a software as a service, if you're building a product, we're in a very different world right now. We've got a ton of D2C, the consumer segment is growing. So you're going to see a lot of changes in terms of how you see TV ads, YouTube ads, online ads, um, the campaign, the most important process in this journey is the way you build a campaign. So if you're trying to build a brand, you have to, again, what's the gap you're trying to fill? So you have to ask a few questions. Is the consumer already aware about the product? Is the consumer ready to, buy your product because they're already aware? Uh, if you're pricing it, if it's expensive, what are the, attributes that you would cover to ensure that the price gets justified to the consumer? Um, so yes, I think it's about awareness. It's about serving the content in the right space and the right time where the consumers actually, give the attention, builds the curiosity, they'll go look for it. So I think my mantra is always about pull marketing, right? As much as we're in a push and pull scenario, I've always believed in pull marketing. That's my, belief system because you can do a ton of ads. You can spend a lot of dollars, on ad spends. But the real deal is about, are you able to create that impact? Are you able to do that mass level outreach? So, but nothing works better than pull marketing. That's been my experience.
Understood. Now, obviously, through your journey, you've also been a product guy because all your, businesses have been into products. And now that you're mentoring, startup founders, what are, say, three ways a founder can validate their product if there is a market, if there is an opportunity before actually putting in any money and scaling?
I think so. This is a question that gets repeated to us as mentors or, podiums that we go to and keynotes that we give, to early stage entrepreneurs. But I feel the first and the most important point that, an early stage entrepreneur has to think of, what is the level of knowledge or the depth of knowledge uh, does he himself have or herself have, before he embarks on that journey? He has to put
Okay.
himself in he has to put himself on the other side of the table, think as a consumer, think as someone who is going to, buy that product, that service, or anything that you're trying to build. That's the first reflection. You have to mirror yourself and ask the question, is this something I would buy? Right? And if you have an answer, absolutely, you have to move on to the next steps by doing an MVP, as we call it now. MVP is a term which can apply in the technical world or in the, real world as well, where uh, you just have to, create that buzz. If you have to build certain business around, within a certain industry, try creating a buzz, right? Try to have about a quick, small campaign, which you get about, you can reach out to about 50 people, maybe. Again, depending on the product or the service. For B2B, it would be different, of course. You would want to validate with about 3 to 5 customers, but create the buzz, build that curiosity, build go to the customers, try and frame a certain questionnaire which the customer or the target audience really gets enthusiastic about, curious about, and starts asking you questions. Because that's when you know that, okay, I am doing the right thing because people have started to ask questions now and they are wanting to know more about it. So, that's the second one. And third, I think I think this is not just the creative, but it's called being smart. Um, you would definitely want to fail fast. I mean, this goes back to the Steve Jobs algorithm, right? Fail fast. Before you invest yourself or try to bring in an investor, I think the principle of failing fast is the most important aspect. Because, with your minimum dollar spend, if you're able to build an MVP, present it to a set of beta users or consumers, that's it. I think the depth of that, the answer is with the usability. If the users are excited, if they are wanting to continue to use your product, you have to lead from there, but you have to fail fast. Most of the issues that we have seen is back in the days, of course, the newer generation and the new age entrepreneurs are amazing. I love working with mid-20s, by the way, right now. They're really sharp. But back in the days, what we used to see is entrepreneurs used to get tied down to the technology, vis-a-vis focusing on the subject, right? Uh, you have to understand technology is there to enable your business and not the other way around. So if you get that right and if you get that straight, you will definitely be very wise in how you spend your money, building the product, spending on ads, and everything within that journey. So yeah, that's my take.
Very well put out. So the three things is first is gather knowledge and think of them as your customer. Second is launch an MVP or a small campaign or something around it and build curiosity and see if there is a real interest. And third is fail fast.
Yeah,
Just get
absolutely.
in and do whatever. That that's and you said that right, because there are a lot of companies and people, like you said, who are so into the product that they forget the why is the product even being built, right? I always say that it's about progress rather than perfection. Just go with the base version that you can launch and then see what is the kind of traction you're getting and then take the next step. um
And just to add one more thing, please don't get disheartened. So just because one product fails does not mean, that's the end of the world. The world is too big. The opportunities are by and large beyond what you can think of. And once again, keep doing. Just keep pushing forward.
have there been instances where you have gotten disheartened?
Yes. Oh, yes. I think I have a laundry list. Uh,
Is
uh,
there any one particular one that you can talk about to the audience and also like how you sort of came out of it or navigated it?
uh, it's I think one of the instances that I remember goes back again early stage, right? I would always talk about the first gig that you do. Um, you build a product for a client, you give your best. You've put in, you burned that midnight oil, you've locked yourself out in the studio for 48 hours and more because you're just so passionate about what you build. You've given that Midas touch, but you've forgotten the fact that this might be the best for you. Is the client satisfied? So, yes, there have been instances where We built products, we've delivered it, but oftentimes, there would be cases where the client's going to come back with a harsh feedback. They're not happy with what you've built. And, those are the times where you start feeling that I've done my everything. I've given everything that I had, but still this is not enough. So, that's the cycle where you then have to align yourself, reset, the most important part in this process. The moment you reset, that's when you can start, thinking again. So yep, I think that's another mantra to success where you just have to keep resetting that mental button. Anytime, any disaster, any roller coasters, it's okay. It's not a perfect world, so you're definitely going to experience these minor speed bumps, but do treat them like minor speed bumps because that's how you can progress and, push forward.
How do you typically reset?
Um, Again, that's with time outgrow the previous methods as well. But I think for me, I love reading. I love watching a lot of useful content. I use the word useful content, so because we're in a world right now with a lot of content which is not useful. Uh, and Yeah, you just have to snap out. So you have to change your mind. So if you like playing sports, if you like playing games, if you love hiking, uh, just choose, whatever that can de-stress mentally, physically, spend that time and come back. You will come back stronger. I can guarantee that.
So just take some time off, do something that you enjoy other than work, and just free your mind for some time, and then that would eventually give you the mental strength to come back and hit it again. So now that you spoke about failure and fail fast and all of that, right? What are the most common mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making these days?
Wow, I mean, that's opening a Pandora's box, but okay. Uh, Do not raise early. I think one of the most primary mistakes founders are making today is founders are just too eager to raise money. And they're forgetting the fact that as investors or, VCs, we are more, thoughtful in terms of backing resilient founders or, someone who has thought through the idea well, and then is coming to us to perhaps raise money or alongside, get the right kind of mentoring to scale the product. But one of the most, uh, it's interesting, but also at the same time, it's not a great idea to raise early.
What is
Uh,
early?
mm, so, we had a wave back in the days where VCs used to get, bombarded with just a ton of decks, which are a piece of paper, right? It's purely idea stage, not validated. There's nothing like there's no head or spine, right? So I think early is gone are the days where, even a small scale investor or a mid to large scale VC, nobody really is interested to uh, give the first check at the idea stages. So you are in a better shape. Like I mentioned previously, you are in a better shape to go to an investor when you've validated the product, built enough curiosity, and you see the demand. So I think a few things which are now today mandatory before an investor even wants to discuss with you about your idea or your product or the startup that you're trying to build. So yeah, I think one thing as a takeaway for entrepreneurs today is please do not go and do door knocks without having confidence in your own self and uh, in the product or the service that you're trying to build. Because you're not just, this is not putting a dent in someone else's pocket, but you have to realize that a lot of people will get affected with it if you fail, because an investor is more keen to grow the capital, grow your business. Nobody knows the future, but you do your best. And it's always better to join hands, where you've thought through the process, you've thought through how your product is going to work. You've seen some, interaction and feedback. And then, of course, most importantly, you have to be very agile in terms of learning. So, you are learning every day. People are going to use your product every day. They are going to give a feedback every day. So you have to keep adapting. You have to keep, we call it the evolution, right? We, as humans, we evolved as well. So imagine even as a product or a company, you have to take it through the evolution phases. And that's how you will, take it through the finish line.
So, in terms going back to the first question, like to the main question, which was, what are the main mistakes that you see? So, you
Right.
mentioned raise early.
Yes, raising early is one. The second, I think, uh, I can use a little metaphor here, right? A doctor cannot do an engineer's job, and vice versa, right? A doctor is there for a reason. You go to a medic for a reason, right? Uh, if you've been hurt or if you have an injury, you might have basic medical knowledge, but you will go to a medical practitioner to get the right advice. So, 2 points that can be covered here. One, walk the talk. Once again, please have enough exposure to the domain or the industry that you're trying to be in. It may not be something that you worked with before, but you can always acquire knowledge. You can always build that chain of thought, uh, you know, s- see the right content, hear the right stories, learn from them, build your strategy, see if it's working out. So, yes, I think if you're from the domain, fantastic. I think then you are one step ahead of the game because you can do it better. But if you're not, I think you definitely need to have a very solid exposure to your industry that you're trying to be in, and the target customers that you have. So, very important. And do not get fascinated just because somebody else has done it. You have stories around the world by, again, I will talk about AI later, but there have been a lot of positive stories as well and a lot of failure stories as well. Uh, so do not get fascinated just by, seeing a successful entrepreneur. He has been able to do it. And if you are fascinated, don't be fascinated by what he's speaking, but if you have access, understand his or her journey, how he got there, why she got there, why did he or she start what they did? Because that's where the answer is. It's not about just because they became a unicorn. I love it. I want to do the same. No, you can't. It's gonna be a climb towards Mount Everest. You have to, be lucky to even take it to, the third base or the fifth base. So, yes. So I think, again, not being fascinated by success stories or replicating success stories, because a lot of failure is hidden, just by people wanting to replicate someone else's success story. You cannot do that. You have to really go to the depth of the ocean and understand how they've done it, and then think. whether or not you want to do it.
Got it. Mm, I was itself thinking about these aspects, right? When you mentioned that, uh, it's right. There was this way where everybody just wanted investments, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Everybody. I mean, it wasn't about. I think the success definition by itself had become investment, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, and in a way, I think it's good that it's changing because that is not what a business is supposed to mean. It is supposed to mean profitability and should be creating something worthwhile for the consumers. But I think you said that's spot on, right? It's not about investing money, and it's not about the idea. It is actually about building something useful for the customer, which again goes down to your second point of understanding the customer, right? Gaining that knowledge, understanding that industry, understanding what could be the right fit in that. Now, with all of this in today's world, what are like some sectors that you think? So for example, okay, I'm just going to give you a scenario, right? If there was one sector that you would jump into today with a goal of, say, hitting $1 million of revenue in, say, 2 years, with the added twist of being profitable from day one, what would be one sector that you would do this, or what would be an industry you would get into?
Very interesting question because I can break this down depending on the geography you're in, because the world is divided with cultures, aspirations, needs, desires, and so on. But because we're in India, I think I love the deep tech space today. I think, again, various methods of measurement, but the way India is advancing in the deep tech space, the kind of products that we get to see today. Uh, I mean, the industry could be any. It could be banking, it could be, manufacturing, it could be, uh, uh, you know, other industries as well. But what really matters is bridging the gap, right? We've got layers of within an industry, you've got multiple layers that you could fill the gap in. You've got a suite of products which combine together. So think of blockchain as as an example today. There are so many apps, so many services that you're using today. You did not even realize that it went on blockchain, right? Because as a consumer, you've been in that transition and you did not even realize it. And that's how smart this, uh, you know, uh, AI or deep tech space has been, where uh, it's without disturbing the consumer experience, without disturbing your, daily use, routine or usability of the apps or the content that you use. Deep tech or B2B SaaS or AI addresses very strong core problems in every industry. It's it's the identification. It's called magnification of a problem, right? You have to magnify a certain problem, for within the target group or the TG that you're trying to address, and then breaking it down in several milestones. So I think the amplification is very, very important. Uh, and something deep rooted. So as far as the if it's a middleware or if it's a product or a solution which is bridging the gap, I think the customer will pay immediately, right? Because every industry is thriving in a way, if you see it. There are tons of plugins coming in. There are tons of tools coming in terms of right from skewering data to reporting, just basically putting together reports. Like imagine sectors and industries where the data is so much scattered, and every day they're on the lookout of tools which can allow them to collate the data, generate the reports, and serve it to the endpoint user or the end user for that application. So I think, yeah, and not to forget, VCs get fascinated by deep tech as well because the valuations are good. Uh, and as far as the analysis says that your problem statement is justified and can only enlarge, I think you're not just looking to become a unicorn, but you would definitely get early success in that journey as well.
Yeah, I think that is a very upcoming industry, and like you said, I think it probably is the right spot to get started on.
I mean,
You
I
are now
can,
the chap. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean,
Sorry.
yeah, sorry to add, I can definitely talk about the consumer business. I have some very close friends who are very successful in the consumer business. But once again, will it scale fast? Will you be able to get the revenue fast? It's all about the magic, that you can create because there are so many products out there for every segment, every single, I would call it pin to plane or head to toe, right? You go out there and you'll find products on the shelf. You'll find products on the dark stores in all of your uh, quick commerce and your, quick delivery apps. I think so. Yeah, I mean, it is a great space to be in, but you really have to think that it's competitive. So one thing to add, in terms of how can you be successful is also about ensuring that you are in a white space. You're hitting a white space where either there is zero to none competition, or even if there is a competition, your application or your product is doing it better, compared to your competitors.
Okay. So, you're also into mentoring, coaching, and now you have taken that to the next level with VNTR, right? You're the chapter director of VNTR in Mumbai. Do you want to talk about that? What inspired you, and what is your focus with VNTR?
Oh. I'm gonna start this with a very interesting metaphor, right? If you have been putting out a message in the universe, and if the universe listens to it, things just happen by itself. So while the journey began possibly 10 years ago in terms of being part of incubators, accelerators, helping entrepreneurs. Of course, fundraising was a part of it, and I have interacted with VCs, family offices, HNIs, angel investors, and so on. And that's been something around me for the past 10 years. VNTR was just something that, came and fell in my lap where one of the world's largest investors community with chapters in about 40 cities around the world. So I was referred, by a friend of mine in Qatar, and there came the opportunity where I'm now getting a title of leading one of the world's largest investors community in Mumbai, in the west of India, and just bringing together everyone that I know. And for a much bigger vision, much solid force, and sky's the limit because I think with VNTR I aim to just enlarge my vision. I just do everything that I have been trying to do with in my past 10 years. As a chapter director of VNTR, I'm just continuing my journey, perhaps in a much enlarged manner with a stronger force and enhancing everything that I've done in, my past 10 to 12 years. It's another feather in the hat where I am just putting together my entire community of VCs, family offices, angel investors, institutional investors, and the space is growing, right? Because if you look at it, India is the epicenter of startups in the entire world right now. We are one of the fastest growing startup industry. Uh, and VNTR is a motivation, right? Because you can, it's human because you will compare yourselves with other countries, other geographies, see what they are doing, align yourself, within that thought or, with that purpose. To each of his own, of course. But that's the beauty, we are spread across the world with about 40 chapters in different cities. Uh, we keep doing community events, investors only events, for knowledge sharing, bringing investors together to co-invest in the right space, of course, and collaborating with large scale events where, we do the investor roadshows or retreats during that time. So I think we are bolstered with a purpose where, and again, being at the global platform, right? So we are a platform which allows Indian startups to scale globally. We definitely have the power to bring in international startups to India if anybody wants to scale within India. But here's the twist. We are launching our own micro fund in India because, you call it a, personal goal and a professional goal, but that's where we settled, and we decided to build a micro fund in India. We actually just launched last week, last Friday in Mumbai. We had the best of the community attending the event. The news will be out, of course, soon. You'll see it all over LinkedIn and news. But yeah, I think just like my tenacity to be a part of, be a entrepreneur, I think this is one of those feathers in the hat where it's built with a purpose. I am definitely looking forward to collaborating with ecosystem partners, you know, do events, uh, invest in the right companies for the future. And yeah, I think, be satisfied deep inside my heart that I did, I created some impact.
For sure, I think it's an incredible opportunity for every founder, and it's a massive step forward for our entire startup ecosystem. So it's really great that you're pioneering this in India. Based on your journey, right? What are like the key things that an investor looks for, right? When so let's do it like this. What are the key things they look for, and what are the main pitfalls that a founder makes? Like complete no-nos.
I mean, the investors, like I said, it's really about making someone else succeed. So the lens that if I'm an investor and if I'm investing in a company, the lens I would wear is to see the entrepreneur hungry for success, to wanting to create that impact, ready to lose his sleep, delivering that answer, email, feedback. It's the habit and it's the way the entrepreneur conducts himself. So if you're destined for success, and if you will see this as a quality in most of the successful entrepreneurs, they will respond within a flash. They will get back to your email, resolve the issue just like that, because they understand the importance of time and how important it is to let the other person know or get back to the other person. uh, within that stipulated amount of time. So I think speed, that's the word. I mean, if you lack speed, I don't think so an investor is fascinated to be around you at all because they want to see you thrive every single day. They want to see you in action every single minute. And not when I say not the individual, but the culture that the entrepreneur builds within the organization itself. So definitely, if you lack speed, my friend, you're not gonna get it. The other thing I feel is, like I said, I love the three P's here, right? I've been using this model for myself. I call it the 3P model, which is patience, persistence, and perseverance. If you have this instilled in you in the rightful manner, where you exhibit a fair amount of patience by dividing your focus within macro and micro objectives. Persistence, the most important, and this is the most important quality as well of an entrepreneur. You have to be persistent. Like I said previously, everything that you do, you just have to wake up every day and keep doing it again. So persistence is the key, one of the most important attributes you can have. And of course, perseverance. I mean, without perseverance, I don't think so anybody has been successful on this planet. So this
Makes
is this is the recipe, is what I feel.
that makes sense. I think I'm speaking to a couple of people through my podcast, and I think this is the common thread that I'm noticing, that it's not like you will not fail. It's not like you will have it right every time. It's still about getting up the next day and being able to repeat in a slightly better manner, learn your learnings, and keep going for it.
100%.
What are, say, three scenarios where you believe, or say some scenarios where you think you should not be raising money? Are there businesses or entrepreneurs you would suggest that don't raise money?
I do have examples actually. Again, I'll not be able to take the names, but
Sure.
these are the undecorated or uh, not the star-studded entrepreneurs. These are the people who have been doing the real work, you know, getting on the ground, rolling up the sleeves, dirtying their hands in the mud every single day. Uh, if the question is about the sector, then hands down the consumer business. You do not need to raise capital when you've built a single consumer product or a suite of products. If you if you can start selling from day one and generate capital from day one. It's good to raise, but not necessarily every time, right? Because it's going to hurt your cap table, not today, but tomorrow maybe. But if you have the confidence that you can, raise debt, right? There are many ways to do a venture debt. And not to forget, the banking system is just, Indian government is uh, literally flushing out all kinds of tax rebates. They are giving so many schemes, so many options to startups today that I mean it's just crazy. I've seen it for the past few years. The government is doing an absolutely amazing job with what they are doing for MSME or tech startups, and they're empowering every state to build out, their incubators and accelerators for each industry as well. So I think if you can build a narrative from day one that this is the business that you're doing, I mean, we call it the dhanda in the Indian word. So I believe if you are doing a consumer business, raising a private equity round is something you should think of the last. Because if you're selling from day one, if you are able to hit that MRR, and if you can build out a suite 8 to 12 month, again, this is with justified capital and your revenue kicking in early. But yes, I mean, these are people that I know who've been successful already. They have not gone out in the market to raise funds from VCs. They may have taken debt, but that's only because they wanted to scale faster, or build, do more production within a shorter span of time and serve it to the consumers. Like I said, speed. So speed is definitely important in business as well. So I think that's my thought where, on a consumer business, that's possibly you do have to raise. I'm not denying but it's all about how happy you are with what you're doing. And if you're already a cash flow positive company, I don't think so you will really think about raising capital because you're just happy with, your monthly order book being fulfilled, and by doing your minimalistic marketing efforts as well, which is again, ad spends, your social medias, and I think partnerships. That's also very helpful. Any consumer business can grow like that.
What's next for you?
I think the answer is not yet done. So the next is it's very interesting. I mean, I can actually cite a certain example, right? Because while I've built and scaled companies in the past, I am slightly taking a back seat, from here onward by being a solo entrepreneur myself. Because again, a lot has gone in the coaching and mentoring side and the fundraising side. So uh, I'm more happy now in contributing with the vision of the entrepreneurs and empowering them with my knowledge, network, and just the wisdom, I would say, right? So I think from here onward, I will be very keen to be that firepower, for the entrepreneurs, and participate in their journey, right? Because it takes two to tango. So I think one of the gigs that I will be starting soon, I think the news will be out in a month or two. But we are in the process of bringing a London-based startup to India in the fashion tech, so fashion and design space. And yeah, this is one of my mentee companies from the past 4 years, and we finally made a decision to bring it to India because India or Asia is the operator market. And yeah, I think that's where I am finding my comfort nowadays, where I will contribute to the vision of entrepreneurs and help them scale as much as possible, help them grow, and bring in that capital, get the strategy, and perhaps more resources depending on the need of the hour.
So interesting. Now you'll be going into a very different sort of sector from what you have been doing in the past: gaming, entertainment, business transformation, wellness, and now fashion tech. Very, very interesting. Um,
I
yeah,
mean,
go ahead.
I can give a little like a quick childhood memory. My maternal business is clothing, fashion clothing, for the past 30 plus years. So, as a child, I think we grew up in a way where there was, never a dearth of anything, right? You've been pampered with all the best of the clothing. In fact, my summer internships have been in school, behind the counter, selling, kids, uh, or moms or parents, clothes. So I think it's one of those industries which is very close to my heart. Uh, I have been practicing, my etiquettes in fashion as much as possible. So I love that space. But yeah, I've always had that zeal to do something in that space. Again, because it's a podcast, just a quick mention. I did try to launch my own label back in the days, and it's I would say I was one of those first ones to work in the athleisure kind of industry where I was trying to build music infused fashion. So again, music is something I love, and uh, this was the idea that kind of came in. But of course, logistically and time-wise, it was not suitable. So yeah, here's the opportunity. I'm on to my next big thing, and finally entering the fashion and textile industry.
All the best for that. And I'm sure you will take it to the same scales you have taken the other gigs of yours. We are almost nearing the end. I think just before closing, there are two questions I would want to ask you. One is there a book that you would recommend for every entrepreneur who's listening?
I mean, there are a lot of books, to be honest with you. But my favorite pick is Zero to One because, in fact, I coined myself, my Instagram handle also says 0 to 1 at this point. So it's just about understanding the science or decoding, the science behind the startup journeys. And if you're looking for solid knowledge, please, that's your Bible. It is a book that will help you fill the gap in your mind by itself. If you feel you're lacking in certain aspect, in terms of how to go about, building your startup. And again, of course, there are tons of other reference books as well. But yeah, there are, very interesting examples. But I mean, again, while the book is there, something like how you and I are doing, I mean, a podcast today. So there's so much of visual knowledge, audio visual content with real world examples and real world stories. I think that becomes the epicenter of uh, learning, by immediate example, because books can give you a knowledge to a certain extent. Books can guide you to a certain extent, and of course, please keep reading books as much as possible, and that's my recommendation to everyone. But I feel the world is changing, right? There are certain products out there. We began with audiobooks back in the day, but I think a podcast is possibly the best way uh, to dish out knowledge. And, for people who are with here today, listening to this podcast, I think they're going to take away a lot more from this beyond books.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's my favorite part of doing podcasts is just I think meeting all these interesting people and learning so much because you cannot have 100 lives, but you can definitely learn from 100 lives by just talking to them, right? And the great part about being on a I mean doing a podcast is you don't have to do small talk. You can just get into the core meat of what makes that individual, right? And that is amazing. Even I myself listen to a lot of podcasts for the same reason, because I think the depth that they provide of real world examples, it's really beautiful.
You
Last
know,
question for you. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
I mean, just to add to that, humans are coded with a certain DNA. So forget the startup. If you're able to decode your own self, and if you understand yourself first, a lot can happen after that. So, one of the wisdom, because I mean, I am on a spiritual journey myself, and I have been doing practices for a very long time. So, and actually, it's a question you can ask any successful entrepreneur, right? So, beyond books, beyond practical knowledge, and daily activities, uh, mindfulness is definitely something you should adapt to, uh, and stick to a certain practice that builds sanity, right? Uh, that way, you're not only going to be better, but you will see that the clarity of thought, there will be a million questions, but if you start with certain practices with which allows your mind to kind of calm down. So we're talking of meditation, yoga, and then there are tons of other practices as well. But I think if you decode yourself first, everything else is just along the path.
I think that's a wonderful piece of advice. And I think just before we wrap up, have you arrived in your life? Have you reached success, or what is success for you?
This goes back in time, right? A sign, or a signature of a entrepreneur, or someone out there who's trying to create an impact. The journey never is over, the journey is a constant. Just like how the earth is moving, at a constant time and speed. Uh, the concept of success in my mind is imprinted by doing every single day, doing what I want to do, doing what is needed to be done, doing without, taking a day off. So even if it's for your personal growth, professional growth, enhancing your mindset, if you hear anyone who says that they are done, I will beg to differ because the journey just continues. It's never over. And one of the old philosophies and teachings, they always say, right? You learn till the last day. You keep learning till the last breath of your life. Because if you're not learning, something is terribly wrong. And the ones who keep learning, no matter at what age biologically they get to, they are going to be mentally young till the last breath.
That's very, very well said, Jignesh. So with that, we would be wrapping up today. I had a wonderful conversation with you. I took away a lot, and I'm hoping everybody who would listen to this or is listening would take away the same. And I'm sure it's going to be very useful for entrepreneurs or wannabe entrepreneurs, or even I think people just navigating life, because it's always wonderful to understand different journeys. And I had a great experience understanding your journey. Thank you so much, Jignesh, for your time and being with us today.
I appreciate Jaslin. It's just been fantastic. I think there's a lot more to come, of course, but these were my 2 cents. And through my life journey, I hope this is useful, to the listeners. Uh, and it cites, all the examples that I cited are possibly helpful, to people out there in one way or the other. And yeah, I'm very glad, we had this conversation. I appreciate it, and I look forward to doing many more.
All right, then. Thank you so much, Jignesh.
Thanks very much.